Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trek Canon Midnight Edition. So, today we're going to be doing a review of Season 4, Episode 7 of Star Trek Discovery, But to Connect. Now, I did a little minute and a half video, about a minute and a half video, about what I just really liked about this episode. And I had promised that later today, I was going to actually do a video about the episode. Now, why later today, people? Because a brother be having to work, so I don't be having enough time to sit down and actually write stuff, but I do take notes. So for anybody who haven't seen an episode, there are going to be spoilers ahead, but y'all know how I roll. So let me get out my jacket. Let me get out my jacket, man, and let's get started. Okay, so like I was saying, the name of the episode is But to Connect. Now, this isn't going to be solely a review. This is also going to be an examination. And an examination is going to be on bonds, okay? The bonds we make, the bonds we break. Now, this episode was really interesting. It was also a damn fine episode. All right. Why? Why was it a damn fine episode? To get into this, I want to basically give you guys a little history on me. Now, things I rarely ever do on my channel is talk about, one, non-Star Trek things, and two, personal things. All right. And when I say personal things that's non-Star Trek related. Now, so why did I make this channel? Now, if anybody is familiar with my channel, all the way since back in its inception, about a year and a half ago, that should be something that you guys could probably answer. But let me get into it a little bit more, because I think that this episode kind of exemplifies what's been going on. All right, so the reason I started this channel, the primary reason I started this channel, was because I had lost a bond. I had lost a connection. That connection was a best friend. That connection was a lover, all right? And it was somebody who I had known for a very, very long time. And when I say lost, I'm not talking about they died or you know, they became unreachable. No. She just went off and, you know, she had a reason to go do what she, you know, some other things. So, but long story longer, we used to have great conversations about science fiction. We used to have great conversations about movies. We used to have great conversations about concepts and ideas, right? So when that left, when that bond left, when that connection changed, all right, I was a little fearful and a little apprehensive. I ain't gonna say a little bit. I was a lot fearful and a lot apprehensive about forming new bonds and new connections, all right? So when I came across this episode, when this episode aired, it kind of touched me. You know what I'm saying? It kind of touched the brother. It touched the brother. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about bonds, an examination of Season 4, Episode 7, Star Trek to Discovery, But to Connect. Now, let's talk about the things that's going on in the episode. Because, as always with Discovery, you have a main plot and you have some subplots, all right? The main plot is basically the decision and what's leading up to the decision of what they should do as far as this DMA is concerned. Should they try diplomatic approach? Should they try first contact? Should they try, you know, to go the route that Starfleet and the Federation would normally take historically? Or should they become subjective to their fears and their animosities and the unknown and attack this particular DMT? Now, it is both sides of the argument, in which I'm going to go into a little bit later in the episode, were presented well. They were well written and they were well thought out. Now, the other subplot, one of the other subplots is we focus more on Zora. Now, I've said historically that I don't want my computer, my main computer of my ship, being able to countermand my orders, or to deny my orders, or to basically have his own thought process. And it's a reason why that's the case in Star Trek, that they don't want a fully integrated AI system in their ships. And I touched on it, the last episode, I need my computer to be doing what it's supposed to do, not feeling about things a certain way. And Stamets really covered that well when he was talking to Zora about his fears as far as being able to trust her. All right. Now, this whole episode centered around the connections between individual members of the crew, the AI of the ship. Dr. Kavanaugh makes an appearance, and so it was a really intricate dance, okay, of plots and situations that intermingled these people together. Now, let's continue to talk about Zora. Now, the situation arose where Zora figured out the coordinates of 10C, species 10C, and she felt that giving the crew this information would be detrimental to them. She figured that she's trying to protect them. All right. And eventually they end up asking Dr. Kavanaugh to come on board to make a determination as far as how they should extract this data from Zora. Now, I really dug how they were able, and when I say they, Stamets, Dr. Kavanaugh as the mediator, all right, and Zora were able to, their interaction as far as their fears for each other, why they feel these fears with each other, okay? And eventually Zora ends up making a device which can terminate her, right? And I understand why she did it, but I also understand Saru's reasoning. He's like, hey, Saru's basically like, hey, man, it's a lot of ways that I can, inflict damage and kill you, man, but you trust that I won't do that. And you don't have a device, I didn't have to give you a device that would guarantee that subservience. All right. Now, it was really interesting because normally what I've found from Discovery, after that device was made, that termination device was made, that would have been as far as they were willing to go in that. But I really love the fact that they examined, hey, this isn't a good fail safe to build trust. All right. I understand you think this, but it isn't a good fail safe to build trust between us. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to understand each other. All right. Now, we go to a question that I had, once they were talking about Zora and dreams. Two things. The short book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, popped into my head. And the other thing was, they mentioned that no other AI was capable of dreams. And I thought that was very inaccurate, because we know for a fact Data had a whole episode where he was exposed to his subconscious and his ability to dream. Okay. So I don't know if they made the distinction of programmed to dream, because I don't know if Data was programmed to dream, whereas Zora, it just happened spontaneously. Why all this is happening at this moment now with Zora, although she's been on the ship for quite some time, is interesting. And then they decide to make Zora a specialist, which, if Zora is an AI program and she has her own, one moment. Sorry about that, people. Because again, I'm at work. Now, so making Zora a specialist was a really cool thing to do. All right. But I think it would have been better if they had designed a body like they did for Gray. But I think I could probably understand why they didn't, because in effect, you may have a type of data for discovery, and I think they probably want to stay away from that, which I'm glad that they do. But we move on to this strategy meeting. First, I love General Okoye. Every time I see her from Earth, she just does all, she just makes me happy. The butterfly people were back. Now this is the thing with this meeting. You have pretty much the representatives of the Federation and non-representatives of the Federation gathered to decide what they want to do. Dr. Tarka, his crazy butt, he has decided, hey, I have a way to basically bomb this thing and eliminate it. Now, the problem is that if they was to do this, they run a chance of making that 5 light years of space not uninhabitable, but unable to be traversed through warp. And they run the risk of this thing being so devastating that it would go through the wormhole that this DMA is coming through and damage the original species that's doing it. Now, I really understand Book's position as far as why he wants to attack this. But his position is based in fear. His position is based in emotion. All right. And because he lost the planet, I can totally understand that. I really do. But just like Burnham was trying to get everybody to understand, that's not our way. That's, and when I say our, the Federation and Starfleet's way, it's not their way. You know what I'm saying? We don't jump into a situation with a potentially godlike species with the intent, with the basis of fear, with the foundation of fear. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that Burnham did that. Now, it was an interesting dynamic between the president and Burnham, because as the president, her job, she can recommend things, but her job is to basically enforce the will of the delegates. And if the delegates decided to proceed with fear, she had no choice but to go along with this. So I'm glad that she used the resource of Burnham to basically try to change their mind, to try to get out the principles of Starfleet, which are to seek out new life and new civilizations and to boldly go. You know what I mean? Not fearfully go, not with ill intent go, but to boldly go. Now, we talk about Book and Burnham. Is a big chasm that's growing between them. And it seems like Book is going to be the protagonist, the bad guy for the second season, and that is interesting. I'm interested to see where they go with that. Now, Saru and the president, again, I love their dynamic as well, because it is so honest. Do you know what I mean? It seems so honest. What I find issue with, though, is how the president is unable, as a Vulcan, to control her emotions. That's a little weird for me. Now, the dilemma of first contact and fear. There's been many situations in Star Trek canon where they had to make the same decisions. One, right off the bat, for me, is the decision to destroy the Borg or send Hugh back with a sense of independence. In that situation, I err on the side of Admiral Nachev, all right, which was, these are mortal enemies, man. These people have actively, this is what they said they was going to do, and you decide not to kill them? Like, who does that, dude? So I erred on the side of Nachev, but it was a very big difference between what was going on there with the Borg and what's going on with the DMA, with Species 10C. The Borg were known that this is what they were going to do. Species 10C, we don't know. She's right. We don't know. Only thing that happened is this thing has destroyed a planet, wrecked a space station, and it's been flying around with the potential of killing a lot of people. But there has been no actual malice ascribed to it. And I love the saying that Burnham gave about the worms, and everything, that we don't ascribe malice to them. You know what I mean? It's just what they do. So there was a lot in those interactions that I just dug. Now, Gray and Adira, you know, Gray going back to teach on Trill and Adira deciding to stay on the ship, you know, I guess that'll work out. Tilly left, Gray is going to be leaving. Gray hasn't contributed too much to the season, to the series period. Now, let me say something on the side note. The trio, the symbiote that was inside Adira, right? It was shown to have more than one personality, which was one of them was Gray. I wonder how the other personalities feel that Gray has a chance of existing and they're still stuck inside the host or wherever they are. They didn't get a chance to have a say so, or I always wondered about that. How do you feel about that? So let's talk about my personal thoughts on connections. At the beginning of this episode, I talked about why I started the channel and what led me into, besides the fact that people was giving some real tripped out Star Trek information, what led me into this. And it was to connect with you guys, all right? It was to form a connection with the unknown, and I think that I have been doing this. Every time that I've decided to end my channel, it's always been one of you guys that's always said, hey, excellent, keep up the great job and everything like that. So although my connections are changing, I'm losing connections, I've lost connections, and I'm gaining connections with, like I said, new people like you guys. It gives me an outlet to, I guess, get around some of the emotions that I would normally have after, losing a best friend. So I really appreciate you guys for sticking with me and, enjoying the channel and the things that I have offered for you guys to consume. So I just had wanted to say that, and I thought that this episode was a great episode. Like I had said, I thought it was a really great addition to Star Trek canon, because to me it went back to the roots of what Star Trek ultimately is, and that is growing our connections, expanding our horizons. Not always with the explosions, not always with the phases and disruptors, but again, the connections that we make, the personal connections, the interpersonal connections, the way we examine those connections, all right? And how we can improve upon the connections that we have. Now, thank you guys for watching. And, please subscribe if you haven't. Please let me know what you guys thought of this episode as far as, but to connect, like I said, I thought it was great. Put your comments in below. Give me some thumbs up or thumbs down, however you guys feel about it. Me, I got to get back to work. A brother got to go do technician man stuff. Technician man. Anyway, so peace, recycle, and say the whales. You guys be cool.